What if the house you dream of is not a place you want to live in, but a mirror reflecting the desires you have buried so deep you forgot they were ever yours? Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast, empty landscape. The sky is neither day nor night, but something in between, a twilight that seems to hold its breath. In the distance, 5 houses emerge from the mist, each one distinct, each one calling to you in a language older than words. One is a towering glass mansion that catches the light like a prism. Another is a small stone cottage covered in ivy, its windows glowing warm and golden. The third is a sleek modern cube, all sharp angles and minimalist silence. The fourth is an old Victorian manor, its turrets reaching toward the clouds, shadows dancing in its many rooms. And the fifth is a cabin in the woods, surrounded by trees so thick you can barely see the door. You feel drawn to one of them. You do not know why, but Carl Jung knew. He understood that every choice we make, every image that stirs something inside us, is a message from the part of ourselves we have learned to hide. Your dream house is not just architecture, it is a map of your soul. And by the end of this video, you will discover the one truth about yourself that has been shaping every decision you have ever made. The truth that once seen will dismantle the invisible wall between who you are and who you were always meant to become. Jung called it the collective unconscious, a vast ocean of symbols and memories shared by all of humanity. Within that ocean, each of us carries a private island, a place where our deepest fears and most secret longings live. The house you choose is a doorway to that island. It reveals the archetype you embody, the wound you carry, and the desire you have been too afraid to name. But why does this matter? Why now? Because most people spend their entire lives building homes they think they want, only to wake up one day and realize they have been living in a prison of their own design. The house in your mind, the one that feels like home before you even step inside, that house knows what you need before your conscious mind dares to ask. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn will not just change how you see yourself, it will change how you see everything. Let us begin with the glass mansion. At first glance, it is stunning. Transparent walls that let the world in, light pouring through every surface, nothing hidden, nothing concealed. If this is your house, you are someone who craves visibility. You want to be seen, truly seen, not just noticed, but understood in the fullness of who you are. Jung would say you embody the archetype of the sovereign, the ruler who stands in the center of the kingdom, unafraid of scrutiny. But here is what most people are too afraid to admit about this choice. The glass house is also a cage. You have spent so much of your life performing, shaping yourself into someone others could admire that you have forgotten what it feels like to be alone with yourself, unseen, unpolished, raw. The color of glass is the color of water, of tears, of things that flow and cannot be held. It reflects everything, but holds nothing. Your secret desire is not just to be seen, it is to be seen and still loved, even when the light reveals the cracks. You learned early, perhaps as a child, that love was conditional, that it came with applause and good behavior and the right kind of smile. And so you built a life of transparency, hoping that if you showed enough, gave enough, someone would finally see past the performance and recognize the soul beneath. But the glass can shatter, and part of you knows this. Part of you is terrified that one day the world will look through those walls and decide you are not enough. This is your shadow, the part of you that longs to close the curtains, to hide, to finally exhale. The next choice will show you what happens when someone refuses that fear entirely. The stone cottage is the opposite of the glass mansion, and that is precisely why you need to hear this. If the cottage called to you, you are someone who has learned that safety is found in smallness, in boundaries, in the thick walls that keep the world at bay. This is the archetype of the hermit, the wise one who retreats into solitude not out of fear, but out of a deep, aching need for peace. The ivy that covers the cottage is green, the color of growth, of life that flourishes quietly, without applause. But listen closely, because this next part changes everything. The cottage is not just a sanctuary, it is also a hiding place. You have been hurt before, perhaps more than once, and you have learned that the safest way to live is to want less, to need less, to expect less. Your secret desire is not solitude, it is intimacy without invasion, love without loss, connection without the terror of being consumed. You built these walls because someone, somewhere, taught you that the world is too loud, too sharp, too much, and so you made yourself small. You learned to find beauty in the quiet, in the flicker of candlelight, in the sound of rain on the roof. But the hermit's wisdom comes with a cost. You have made yourself so safe that you have also made yourself invisible. And there is a part of you, buried so deep you barely hear it anymore, that wants to be found, that wants someone to push through the ivy, knock on the door, and say, "I see you, I have been looking for you, and I am not leaving." This is the wound you carry, the belief that you must choose between safety and connection, between peace and presence. But the truth, Jung whispered, is that the soul does not want to choose. It wants both. And the next house will show you what happens when someone refuses to compromise. The modern cube is all edges and emptiness, a structure so clean it feels almost inhuman. If this is your house, you are someone who craves control, not power, but precision. The ability to shape your environment, to eliminate chaos, to live in a world where everything has a place and a purpose. This is the archetype of the architect, the one who builds order out of disorder, who believes that mastery over the external world will bring mastery over the internal one. The color here is white, the color of purity, of blank slates, of beginnings that have not yet been touched by failure or regret. But here is what most people miss about this choice. The modern cube is not freedom, it is fear dressed in sophistication. You have spent so much of your life trying to eliminate variables, to protect yourself from disappointment, that you have created a life so controlled there is no room left for surprise, for spontaneity, for the messy, unpredictable beauty of being human. Your secret desire is not order, it is permission. Permission to fail, to be imperfect, to let something exist in your life that you did not plan, did not design, did not approve. You learned, perhaps as a child, that chaos meant danger, that unpredictability meant pain, and so you became someone who could predict everything, anticipate every outcome, prepare for every disaster. But the cost of that control is connection. Because love is chaos, joy is chaos, life itself is chaos. And the part of you that longs to step outside the cube, to let the walls come down, to stand in the mess and say, "I am still here, I am still whole," that part is your shadow, the one you have been trying to erase. Now listen closely, because the next house will show you what it looks like when someone chooses chaos on purpose. The Victorian manor is the house of excess, of drama, of a life lived in full color and full volume. If this house called to you, you are someone who craves depth, not simplicity. You want a life that feels like a story, with characters and plot twists, and rooms you have not yet explored. This is the archetype of the creator, the artist who believes that life is meant to be felt, not just survived. The color of the Victorian manor is burgundy, the color of wine, of blood, of things that are rich and complex and impossible to define in a single word. But here's the truth you have been avoiding. The Victorian manor is also a labyrinth. You have filled your life with so many rooms, so many roles, so many versions of yourself that you no longer know which one is real. Your secret desire is not complexity, it is simplicity. The ability to strip away the costumes, the performances, the endless need to be interesting, and just be. You learned early, perhaps before you even had words for it, that being ordinary meant being invisible, and being invisible meant being unloved. And so you became someone who could never be ignored, someone who filled every silence, who turned every moment into a scene, who made sure that if nothing else, you would always be remembered. But the shadow of the creator is exhaustion. The endless performance takes a toll, and there is a part of you, buried beneath all the drama, that just wants to sit in an empty room and breathe, that wants someone to love you not because you are fascinating, but because you are you. This is the wound you carry, the belief that your worth is tied to your ability to entertain, to inspire, to never, ever be boring. But Jung knew that the soul does not want to perform, it wants to rest. And the final house will show you what that rest looks like. The cabin in the woods is the house of return, of going back to something older, simpler, truer. If this is your house, you are someone who has grown tired of the noise, the speed, the relentless forward motion of modern life. You want to remember what it felt like before you learned to be afraid, before you learned to hide, before you learned that survival meant compromise. This is the archetype of the wild one, the part of you that has never been tamed, that still remembers what it means to live in rhythm with something larger than yourself. The color of the cabin is brown, the color of earth, of roots, of things that have been here long before you and will remain long after you are gone. But here is the secret the cabin holds. It is not an escape. It is a confrontation. Because when you strip away the distractions, the roles, the endless tasks that keep you busy, what remains is you, just you. And that is terrifying. Your secret desire is not solitude, it is authenticity. The ability to live without pretense, to speak without filter, to exist in your own skin without apology. You learned, perhaps, slowly over time, that the world rewards those who conform, who soften their edges, who make themselves palatable. And so you did. You learned to smooth the rough parts, to lower your voice, to fit into spaces that were never built for someone like you. But the wild one does not fit. And the part of you that chose this cabin, that felt something stir when you imagined yourself surrounded by trees and silence, that part is your soul saying, enough. Enough performing, enough shrinking, enough pretending that this half-life is enough. The cabin is where you go to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And that is the most dangerous, most necessary journey you will ever take. So, what does your dream house say about your secret desires? It says that you are not lost. It says that somewhere inside you, beneath all the layers of adaptation and survival and fear, there is a part of you that knows exactly what you need. The glass mansion says you want to be seen. The stone cottage says you want to be safe. The modern cube says you want to be in control. The Victorian manor says you want to be alive. And the cabin in the woods says you want to be free. But here is the truth Jung spent his life uncovering. All of these desires are one desire, the desire to come home to yourself, to stop running, stop hiding, stop pretending, and finally stand in the center of your own life and say, "This is me, this is mine, and I am done apologizing for it." Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. The house you chose is not a fantasy. It is a prophecy, a map your soul has been drawing your entire life, waiting for you to be brave enough to follow it. So tell me, which house did you choose? And more importantly, what will you do now that you know what it means? Share your choice in the comments, not because I need to know, but because you do. Because naming the desire is the first step toward claiming it, and your soul has been waiting long enough.